What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Alpha Blue, episode 2. I don't know, probably talking on some stuff about World War 3. Because, well, if you've looked at the news at all in the following week, all you've pretty much heard is about Iran, potential war with Iran, and World War 3, and Russia, and China, and all that madness. I mean, I guess, obviously, a lot of you already know that it started out with an airstrike to, like, a top-rated general in Iran. General something Salami. I don't really know his name or how to really pronounce his name, but yeah, that guy. Qasem Soleimani. I don't know, apparently this was a really bad dude, and apparently he's been into some shady shit. I guess he was even part of orchestrating how should I put this? The attack on the U.S. Embassy. So, I guess that guy was all part of that. I guess he's, like, been responsible for killing, like, thousands of innocent civilians, even killing some of our men and women of our military. So, we deemed it that we were going to basically blow the guy up in a drone strike as he was driving down the road. Guess, I don't know. Like, obviously, there's a whole lot of information that we aren't aware of, or that we aren't being told, and probably will never be told. You know, it's the U.S. government, so quite honestly, everything kind of goes hush hush, and exactly why they do the things that they do. But given in layman's terms, you know, like, the guy, as Trump would put it, was a complete monster and killed a bunch of innocent people and did a bunch of horrible stuff. So, I mean, they deemed it like the best plan of action was to take him out in a drone strike, which, well, America, I mean, that's kind of what we're known for at this point is, yeah, we got drones and we shoot missiles out of them, and yeah, you don't really hear them, see them, nothing until, well, I don't know, imagine the guy's last, like, millisecond of his life was seeing some sort of silver big old fucking metal thing coming down in the front of his vehicle, and he was like, what the fuck, and, yeah, you know, you're dead. I mean, I don't know, I ain't here to judge whether that was a good decision or a bad decision. You know, I'm not like a government official or some high-ranking general of some sort that would know any of this information, but I can probably say that there was probably alternative realms we could have taken. There was probably some sort of political polls we could have been, you know, pulling. There's some strings there that, you know, I'm sure just shooting a missile from a drone right into the dude's vehicle, I'm sure it was, you know, it was a top 5 of actions that we could take, but it definitely, I would assume, in my opinion, it probably wasn't plan A. It just so happened to be, well, Trump is our president, and, you know, Trump usually takes the most excessive kind of plan of action. He doesn't really strike me as a guy that would really like to do, you know, peace talks. You know, he just seems like, you know, like he stated when he was running for president, you know, and talking about ISIS and the Taliban and Al Qaeda and all that kind of stuff, you know, like his pretty much basic answer was, well, we'll bomb the shit out of them. So holding on to that, you know, he pretty much went with, well, what do we do about General Salami over here? And he was like, well, bomb the shit out of them. Just seemed like his appropriate answer for that. Which, it's kind of a little sketchy, and especially I was like, going through the, you know, this last week is just kind of, it was a little nerve-wracking because, okay, Iran is in Iraq, you know, like it is in Afghanistan here. Like these motherfuckers, they got money, okay, they got allies, okay, like if it was like going to be a full blown out war, like Iran would be kind of one of them countries, like in this, America, of course, would have won, but they would have been a good adversary. They definitely can cause some damage. I mean, even given all this now, they did back out of like the like what is that, like the uranium deal or whatever? I don't know, building nuclear bombs deal that we kind of have. I mean, they backed out of that to keep enriching uranium. Is that all the right phrases for this? I don't know. You guys let me know. But they backed out of that deal to start, making like nukes again and stuff like that, in which I guess the people that know a lot about this kind of information, reports say that, they're years off from like actually making a nuclear bomb. But in my eyes, I really am not too cool with them making a nuclear bomb at all. And I mean, Trump tends to agree with me in that, because these people aren't like the most, I don't know. It's like America and Russia. We have a bunch of nuclear bombs, but quite honestly, they're just sitting silos in the middle of like deserts and stuff. I don't really know where they keep them, but they're not just going to be launched anytime soon. You know what I'm saying? Like the real weapons of mass destruction tends to be our AK-47s, M16s, stuff. Guns. And just Iran just kind of seems like the kind of offbeat kind of place that might just say, well, shooting a nuke wouldn't be such a bad idea. And considering that they do have allies, like Iran is, they're well-rounded with kind of like some big tyrants of the world, like he kind of, Iran kind of brushes, some shoulders with some powerful people, such as Russia, China. I guess they did mention North Korea, but I've never really found them as a threat. It's just, I don't really count them. It's just, dude, you went to South Korea. I mean, and straight up, dude, like the weirdest thing about that whole thing is, like, I watched their whole convoy go into South Korea, right? And other soldiers kind of had a seat. And then in leaving South Korea to go back to North Korea, let's just say there wasn't any room for their soldiers to sit anymore, and they had to like jog side by side of their convoy to like go back to North Korea. So I don't know, I'm just going with this fool got some like badass like iPads and iPhones and a couple 4K TVs, and he's been happy. He's kind of shut the hell up after all that whole ordeal. I imagine, he met Samsung and they were like, oh, hell yeah, okay, all right, we'll calm down a little bit, So North Korea has never really been a threat. Yeah, I just don't ever view them as a threat, but this is just me, and this is just like me talking shit, like I said, I'm not in the military, I don't fucking know what I'm talking about, but North Korea, they're just not on my red alert. They're just not on the clock of doomsday. Russia, China, these are kind of places that I kind of put on my bar of, yeah, they could probably do some shit, that could probably be some doomsday action. Doesn't seem like Russia was too much of a fan of partnering up with Iran and kind of going to war. China, I personally believe they're just so much of a monopoly at this point that they don't care to go. Well, I mean, when was the last time China was in a war? I don't hear about China invading people. I don't hear about China hopping on board with people. I hear about China doing China, and China just does China, and China gets money. That's pretty much what they have going for them, So I just didn't really see that happen in Russia. Putin and Trump, I mean, you go into like political, I'm just assuming that they're kind of brushing shoulders and they're not really ready to go to war with each other. So now Iran's kind of stuck by itself, and I just don't see that happening. The only worry I had, I guess, with that is like America's allies. Trump has really said some really like bad shit about NATO. So like, I'm not saying that, NATO and like the United Nations definitely won't 100% go on America's back, but I'm just saying they're not real big fans of Trump right now, or ever. So, so quite honestly, like they won't leave us hanging, but it would be definitely some political agendas that I just don't think would be very feasible for this country to go through right now, and especially given, Donald Trump. And I'm not saying that I'm not a fan of him. I'm not saying that I am a fan of him. I'm just saying, Trump just has his different ways of doing things. Whether you agree or disagree, you have to agree on that fact alone. Like he's a different kind of president. I mean, I got a Twitter account and I only follow one person. That would be Donald Trump. That's all I can really say. That's what I'm going with on my Donald Trump era. I mean, the shit, it gets me going every morning. A cup of coffee and a Donald Trump tweet. Let's just do this. I'm ready for the day. So, I don't know. It's kind of some spooky stuff. It was a little worrisome. I'm sure anybody, if you're listening, like, definitely at this point, it was definitely worrying. And we're totally not out of the water with it either, because Iran threatened revenge. They said that they were going to get back to the United States. They ended up shooting some missiles at 3 bases in Iraq that did house U.S. troops. Given it's America, we also have some extreme technology that basically, really in my terms, alerted them that the missiles were going to come. I'm sure that we checked the trajectory of them. We knew where they were going to land. We knew what they were going to do well before they even got close to Iraq. We knew. So ultimately, they didn't end up hitting our bases. They ended up just like hitting right outside our bases, probably through a couple rocks that, probably, as the missiles blew up, probably hit a couple rocks that hit the base kind of thing. But that is something they did take definitive action. And which worries me the most about them taking such rash kind of, I don't think, well thought out action is if you would have been wrong, if one of your little measurements would have been wrong and you would have hit one of them bases, dude, we're talking war, man. Like, you bomb a U.S. military base, regardless of where it is sitting. I'm going to tell you right now, America ain't going to have that shit. America is not, homie, don't play that, because they're going to start, let's just say, we're not going to miss, we're not going to be wrong, and we are, all our numbers are pretty damn precise. I'm just saying, now with our technology, pretty much, our missiles will pretty much go and hit the needle in the haystack. It's pretty much at this point. We don't miss and we don't do wrong. And I'm not saying that there isn't some mistakes. Okay, I guess I should elaborate. There probably is some mistakes, but I'm just saying it's America, and we're not going to be kind to that shit at all. So ultimately, probably wasn't a good move on their part. I mean, Trump did do a kind of a national, I don't know, an American press conference kind of thing. And he did say that, they did get a letter from Iran saying that, we're done. Whatever the hell that really means. And, it did sound like Iran was kind of stepping back, and just, from what I heard, that, I guess, what I read, that's not what they told their, kind of their controlled press, and that's not what they told their, media to tell their civilians. They, of course, told their civilians, oh yeah, we hit the American bases, we got them, revenge, we are Iran. And, obviously, our non-controlled media, and definitely, we just don't beat around the bush. Like, yeah, they didn't hit our bases, and they definitely shot them to where they were near our base, but they didn't really hit our base, and like nobody was injured, not even an Iranian, like not even a soldier, not even like I don't even think no dogs were hurt in the harming, in the making of this missile. You know what I'm saying? Like nothing happened. So ultimately, you definitely couldn't look at Trump then and just say, okay, well, that's more the reason to start bombing the shit out. That was, okay, well, that's what you guys did. If that was your retaliation, hoorah. I don't really know. So, it was crazy though. I mean, it's still not good. It's definitely like, we just got to get over this whole thing. And I mean, quite honestly, the way that this was done about salami over there, quite honestly, could have been handled probably a lot better, a lot differently, and probably not so much of a let's shoot missiles at each other kind of thing. I just think we should be moving past that. We're on the realms of defeating ISIS. We took out the leader of ISIS. We're kind of trying to stomp out all the craziness and missiles and guns and killing each other. We're the human fucking race at this point in 2020. I mean, just the killing each other kind of thing. I just, especially country through country, like, is this really still happening now? Like, are we just done with this now? Like, dude. I just don't really think it's a necessary thing at this point in our lives anymore. I just don't. I'm just not for it. Whatever the fucking reason may be. We had to stop ISIS. I get that. We got to stop the crazies. I get it. We got to stop these little fucking militias, whatever they are. Again, we got to stop them so they're not killing civilian people. But I'm just saying, like, organized, really civilianized, average, somewhat. We shouldn't be bombing each other. That's all I'm trying to say, man. That's all I'm trying to go with here. So, I mean, that was the biggest news of this week. I mean, it was nuts, man. I was kind of sitting there like, dude, World War III breaks out, like, drafts aren't cool. Granted. At least I'm sitting on the side with the best military in the world and the most, advanced military in the world. At least I'm sitting on the bright side. But seriously, I'm definitely feeling if I'm feeling this way and I'm sitting in America, I can only imagine what the Iranians, the civilians, are thinking sitting in Iran. And I would be 10 times more freaked out, if I was sitting on that end of the bench, like, hey, motherfuckers, how about we don't be shooting missiles at their bases and shit? And how about they did kill a fucking monster that was completely crazy and killed like thousands of us? Remember that kind of shit? Remember them reports? Like, these have been well documented and like proven reports. So, like, did they really do that wrong? And we probably shouldn't be just going and attacking their embassy and having anything to do with that kind of stuff. Like, that just doesn't seem like a reasonable thing to be doing in the world. It's fucking America, dude. Yep, just in episode 2, just like episode 1, there's going to be coffee breaks. So, other than that, it was a pretty good week. Pretty cool. Ultimately, let's just not have World War III. That's all I'm trying to say. I don't know what else I was going to discuss in this video, or in this podcast. But I'm thinking that if we did go to World War III, I don't even think there would be like a draft. I don't even think there would be, dude. We got like enough soldiers. And like now I don't think like boots on the ground now is like even as big as a thing as it was like back in like Vietnam. Like, we kind of got drones and shit all up just flying around, like, quite honestly, I just don't even see a draft kind of situation happening. I just see it as it'd probably be really bad for, our adversary. Probably wouldn't turn out that good. Probably wouldn't, and quite honestly, it's probably never going to be like a full-on draft, but other than that, so in the realms of my week, I watched the 60 Minutes of Jeffrey Epstein and that whole situation. I don't know what you guys believe, but I'm just kind of on the realm that hashtag Epstein didn't kill himself. I'm just saying that, dude, because the more and more I look into that case, the more and more sketchier that case begins to be. Not begins to be. I guess it's been sketchy the whole entire time. Nothing about it makes sense. Ultimately, he tried committing suicide one time, supposedly. I've not seen footage or, any real legitimate claims to support this. But that happened, I guess, from what we're told. And then he was put on suicide watch. And in suicide watch, they went through like his cell after he committed suicide, in parentheses. And the stuff that he had, like was just unbearable for somebody that would be on a suicide watch. Like he had all these sheets, he had all these extra jumpsuits, and I just don't feel like someone on suicide watch would be able to have access or be able to have all these things in their cell. Someone that just committed or tried to commit suicide would not then be given all the materials to then try again. It's kind of my thing, and 60 Minutes kind of went on the realm of saying that. And apparently he wrote a suicide note too. And the suicide note that they're saying is a suicide note, but isn't really much of a suicide note, is just a bunch of gibberish just thrown out on a paper saying that there was like spiders crawling on him and no fun was the end of it. And he had like a ballpoint pen just sitting next to the piece of paper, which didn't make any sense either. It was like, dude, a dude on suicide watch, what the fuck was he doing with a ballpoint pen and being able to write suicide notes and stuff like that? Like, none of it makes sense to me. And I'm sure I'm just like hitting at like, you know, a broken, you know, nail here. Like, but dude, I don't really understand, like, not if, like, the government killed him, if they killed him, they did the sloppiest possible job of assassinating a person than any assassination ever. At least Kennedy, at least with the magic bullet and stuff like that. Yeah, at least you kind of had some sort of basis of where this could possibly happen. Maybe you could make the shot from 100 yards easily. You know, these are things that could happen. They've proven multiple times of, you know, he definitely could have made them shots and could have been up in that, you know, he had the clear vision, all this stuff. But this Epstein case literally makes no fucking sense. And the way that he did it, even the fractures to his like jawbone and stuff, doesn't even line up with a suicide that even the autopsy dude that has seen multiple of people hanging themselves and stuff like that in all sorts of different situations even says like, even this doesn't add up to me. Even this is looking pretty damn sketchy. And, oh dude, and then the no footage. Like, no fun. The cameras didn't work. The backup cameras didn't work. Nothing ever worked. It was like, there was nobody around. Officers weren't doing their watches. I mean, every turn you take, there's like another excuse. It's like talking to my little daughter if she ate the cookies out of the cookie jar. And like, at this point, I just kind of feel like the government just has chocolate all over their face. But they keep on blaming, you know, the dinosaur that came up out of the stairs and just got into the cookie jar and they couldn't help it. And then a monster jumped out of the mirror and then, you know, they shared them. And then just in the midst of times, right when you were catching me, they shoved chocolate all over my face just to make me look like I was guilty. It's just excuse after excuse after excuse, and just completely at this point so irrational and so like... No, I'm not buying it. That it's just, at this point, I would give the government more credit to just come out and just say, dude, we did it. The dude had some, like, apparently he had some pretty compelling evidence against some pretty top official people in our government on some, like, child molestation shit, on some, like, straight up chomo shit. Like, would have been, like, very detrimental for our government. So, and I'm not saying any of it's true. I'm not saying that any of it's false. I don't really know the information that he had. I'm just saying this guy was into some sketchy shit, and apparently some politicians were in some sketch. You know, everybody kind of had their hand in the cookie jar around here, and apparently he was going to release and just be a whistleblower on the whole damn thing, and they were not having that. And I mean, ultimately, when it comes down to me thinking about any politicians that he would call out, I could really think of a lot that wouldn't surprise me if he would have said that they were involved in this kind of behavior. A lot of them wouldn't surprise. You know, the one that would have surprised me, there's only one that would have. If he would have said like Barack Obama. Like that one probably would have surprised. Nah, not Barack Obama. You know, but that's the only politician that literally I could have been just like surprised about. Anybody else, and yeah, I'd be like, yeah, they're pretty fucked. Kind of, you know, they snatching pussies up and shit, you know, and doing some chomo shit. Like, dude, like, bro, I don't know, man. Like, these politicians are corrupt as fuck. So, I mean, Have you guys ever seen the movie Vice? You know, check that shit out on Hulu. You know, it's just a little insider on it's kind of the fucked up shit in the government. I mean, even if you've ever seen House of Cards on fucking Netflix, dude, like, even, who was it? I think it was Bill Clinton that said, like, that show actually is more relatable on the stuff that happens within the government than you would even, you'd be surprised if you really knew, like, how, like, detailed and accurate that show really was. And that show has some pretty fucked up shit in it. And to have someone like Bill Clinton, I believe it was him, that came out and said that, it was just completely like, dude, what the fuck? Bill Clinton, you probably shouldn't be saying that, but ultimately he did, and ultimately, you know, we all know our government is corrupt as fuck. We all know that, you know, there's some sideline shadow government deals going on that, you know, I'm sure if we knew the ins and outs of it all, it would probably scare the living shit out of us. And when you have people like Epstein, I mean, gonna come out and be a whistleblower and start, you know, blowing the lid off all this kind of stuff, you know, these people that shake hands with some very sadistic ass, like, fucked up people, you know, like, I'm sure to anybody to whistleblow it, yeah, they kind of had to get you out of the way, you know. So, dude, the evidence kind of speaks for itself. I mean, I don't really know. You know, obviously I wasn't there, but I don't know. The more and more I look at it, it looks sketchy in my eyes. Even if there wasn't even a media outburst saying of how sketchy it was, I would just look at the evidence myself and just see that this is pretty fucked up and this makes absolutely no sense. I mean, I don't really need to be brainwashed into believing that it's pretty sketchy. It just, the evidence speaks for itself that it's pretty sketchy. And it's really sloppy for something that the government would do. But to say that he would just have done it, even if he did it himself and killed himself, then really just the prison system itself and even the suicide watch was kind of just, it was still sloppy as fuck. Like, it was almost, well, okay, if you didn't do it, then you sure as hell didn't put anything in precautions, and you sure as hell didn't take any measures to prevent it either. Because by the looks of it and looks of the jail cell, you really weren't doing your jobs. And I'm really not seeing all these people get indicted for all this stuff. And I imagine, okay, and even if the government did it, then the only other thing is you got to be pissed, you know, because imagine how much the people were paid to do this kind of thing, you know, like, I'm sure, like, you know, to kill Jeffrey Epstein, like, you don't do that for a couple of dollars in your commissary, you know, like, you're talking a very high profile case here, you know, you're gonna have to, you know, sweeten some deals here. And even without that, I'd be pissed at where my money went. If it was me and I paid for Jeffrey Epstein to get killed, and this is how they did it, I would be pretty pissed. I'd be like, dude, I didn't pay you all this damn fucking money to make it look like this. Man, you just made it look sloppy. Like, this is horrible. At least we could have even gone with, you know, he was walking down the corridor and all of a sudden he got a little shank. You know, that would have been more acceptable at this rate. That would have been kind of like all right, yeah, people get shanked in prison. At least that would have been something that the American public could relate to. But just, oh, he hung himself, you know, after the, you know, your whole story makes no sense whatsoever. If he would have just gotten shanked, I'm not giving you ideas on how to do this, government. I'm just saying that definitely would have sold the American public a hell of a lot more than this whole fuck system. But hey, I don't know. You know, the conspiracy in me just says, you know, but maybe it was kind of like a warning to everybody else, you know, like they got to make it just so outlandish and so like blatantly obvious just to warn any other whistleblowers, like, this could be you. I mean, ultimately, there's always got to be a little sideline agenda here, but maybe it is just kind of like a warning shot, like, hey, motherfucker. See, we can be this open about it and do it this blatantly obvious and just know that you want to speak out, bro, we'll hang you. You know? Like, well, I don't know what else the answers really put on it, but dude, I watched the whole thing and I was just like flabbergasted at just like how blatantly obvious it was. And I can honestly stand here right now to you on this and say Epstein didn't kill him damn self, and that's just in my opinion, but I'm definitely holding strong on that one. There is just no fucking way. All this just doesn't make sense. Like, even the way that it was done, and like, oh my gosh, dude, the autopsy report, there's just no fucking way. I just found that just very odd. It's scary though. I mean, knowing that the government, just honestly, dude, in what I would call a blatant hit on somebody, and obviously, like, I come after motherfuckers, man, dude, like, and the shit that he had on you is just kind of even more worrisome too, because the only reason you're gonna want to kill a motherfucker from whistleblowing motherfuckers is if he's got some like decent ass evidence on people. Like, quite honestly, what he had, or what he was gonna whistleblow about, there must have been some factual basis to it, or what would be the reason of taking him out? If it was all a bunch of BS and, like, quite honestly, he was just some crazy person, well then, what would be the reason to take him out then, unless there was a lot of factual stuff, and there was a lot of stuff that, quite honestly, they were going to be able to fact check and find out that was actually truth, and the guy wasn't really just bullshitting around, then, that would be a pretty damn good reason to take him out, right? I find that quite strange. So, let me clear my throat. So ultimately, man, like, I don't know, that's just it's kind of crazy. I was watching that this week, and I just thought that was weird. So, I mean, take it for however you want and what you honestly believe, I mean, look at the evidence yourself, and, you obviously come to your own conclusion of what you think happened, or how conspiracy or not, and I hate to throw that word on there, just conspiracy. Oh, it's a conspiracy. You say something's a conspiracy, then automatically you look like a crazy person. But, well, not necessarily, because, like, a lot of these conspiracies that we call a conspiracy, come to find out later in time, really come out to be true, and they're not so much the crazy people than really just fact checkers that just have some questions about some very obviously blatant shit that is going on that we should all be aware of, and way before it comes out way later that this is what they did, because there's some pretty, like, shady underground shit, Now, I'm not going to go on the realms of just saying, 9/11 was, done by the government, like, nothing that crazy, but, like, ultimately, Kennedy might have been taken out by our government, like, the magic bullet just didn't really make all that much sense either. You talk about the moon landing, that shit did look pretty sketchy also. I'm not saying this was a full-on conspiracy theory, because there's some pretty good evidence kind of looking at that whole thing, and my thing is, where's all the actual footage? The actual footage, like the archived, like, you would think something like this would definitely be, like, accessible and archived, and, like, you actually have the actual reels and where all this stuff was recorded, and quite honestly, it's all gone. It's all missing. Like, all we have is the stuff that they, like, put on TV, like, just, like, recordings of the live thing, but the actual footage itself, the whole, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like, the whole actual reel of it is just gone. And that's just one little tidbit to it all, Got the flat boots, and then, on the space when they're showing the steps, it's got ripples in it. These are things that I just find sketchy about the whole thing. And quite honestly, from what I see, I don't really see is how many times we've been to the moon since. And I mean, quite honestly, if we, one giant leap for mankind or something, whatever his quote was, and we just ain't been back. You know what I'm saying? We're to the backside of the moon, there was aliens. That's where the conspiracy theory gets a little crazy, all right? Then that's where you can kind of just throw the conspiracy theory out, because there's always that extra step in there. The dark side of the moon is filled with an alien colony. Okay, calm down. Not saying we've actually been to the moon, but you lost me when you said that there was an alien colony on the dark side of the moon. All right, that's kind of where you lost me. Because I just don't think that's happening. But hey, who knows? You know, what do I fucking know? Maybe there's a reason we ain't been back. I don't know. Maybe Russia will figure it out and let us know. Putin, let me know. Dark side of the moon, aliens, hook it up. Bruh. But, oh my God. It's just straight up crazy, man. Just straight up crazy stuff. And I just don't get it. Can you guys hear that clicking? I hope not. Oh my gosh. Go through some headlines here. Whoa. We're losing stuff here. Whoa. So, I don't know. That whole Iran thing is kind of freaking me out. Now they're saying that the Iranian missile might have taken down that Ukrainian jet. Like, I doubt that, given that, you know, it killed like 83 Iranians. I just don't think they're like, you know... At this point, they already got that general that might have been like, you know, killing their own people. I just don't think that that's happening. But they refuse to give back the black box. And I'm just, you know, not going with that. Oh, that was the week. That was pretty much this week, and it's been in the news. I don't know. I just, at this point, I think we can put my World War III clock. We can dial that back a few minutes. I just don't see that happening anytime soon. Quite honestly, I think that Iran kind of look at all the perspectives of what could happen, what might, you know, the whole realm of this probably wouldn't be a good idea to be starting war with the U.S., especially right now, especially with someone like Donald Trump in the office. It just probably would just be the best option. I just don't think that's something on the realms that they're really prepared to do or want to do, and I don't think America wants to do it either, and that's definitely not a war that we need to be fighting anyways. So, I mean, world peace! It's kind of what I'm going for. That'd be pretty cool. You guys can definitely hop on that train at, you know, some point here in the near future. So I am definitely just done with it, man. Like, I don't need all this stuff. Oil. So on the bright side, it feels like everything is being pushed back, and you know, now it's going to go into a political oversight. It's definitely going to start talking peace talks and what we're going to do, and definitely scratching out a new nuclear deal would be our next best plan here, plan of action, because I guess that deal is actually coming to an end here. I believe it was this year that it's coming to an end, is what I was reading. So, I mean, maybe in some realms there might be a positive note to this, so at least they can jot up a new nuclear plant. Because straight up, dude, I don't even think really America needs nukes, quite honestly, and I definitely don't want some crazy ass country to have nukes. Something of like Iran. Just, it's probably not in the midst of a good world order here. So jot that back up and get that back on board and get everybody set in. Yeah, let's not nuke each other. You know, that just seems to be just not a good idea for everybody. So let's just go on that room and definitely get that all done and set up. I mean, now, I guess, live another day in the good old USA and go out ice fishing. Is probably definitely where this is all where I'm gonna go. So Thank you for tuning in. I know this wasn't a very long cast. I want to get some people on here and honestly just do this with me and kind of have some guests and be able to speak on some stuff, especially some world news type stuff. That would be kind of interesting. If you're interested, hit me up, because I really want to get this thing popping off and kind of just, I want to drop an episode every week is where I'm at now, and especially on Fridays would probably be the most opportune time for me to actually drop one and actually do this up. And you hit it up on live, you know, that would be kind of cool too, because then I could have like live comments coming in too, and people just sharing their views or, you know, asking questions and kind of telling me what they think. So these are all things that I'm working on. You know, it's just going to come with time, obviously. So got any future ideas or anything like that, feel free to drop it down in the comment section, and remember to stay tuned. And that's been 40 minutes with alphablue 5.0, and that's been episode 2. So stay up, stay happy, stay live.